Welcome to Pokemon Go Ahead, it's your boy Cheekly. As we all know, Paldean Tauros will be debuting in Tier 3 raids during the Stunning Styles event. Another thing you should note that Paldean Tauros has 3 different breeds. There's the Combat breed, which is a pure fighting type, the Blaze breed, which is a fighting fire type, and of course the Aqua breed, which is a fighting water type. We are going to discuss about how you can easily take these down, but before we do, be sure to subscribe since we're so close to 2,000 subscribers, and also let us know in the comments below which Paldean Tauros is your favorite. Let's first talk about the Combat breed of Paldean Tauros. This will be a pure fighting type, which means it's going to be very weak against Fairy, Flying, and Psychic types. This Paldean Tauros is going to be exclusive in Tier 3 raids in the Iberian Peninsula, which is around Spain and Portugal. So if you don't have any friends in Spain or Portugal, you should definitely reach out and get some trainer codes in exchange so that you can get some remote raid invites for the Combat breed. If you are in the Eastern Hemisphere, you're going to encounter the Paldean Tauros Blaze breed, which is the fighting fire type. This is probably the coolest one out of the 3 in terms of design and typing. Because it has an additional fire typing, it's gonna be weak against flying, ground, psychic, and water. Because it's fire type, it loses that fairy type weakness. And finally, the Western Hemisphere is going to have the Aqua breed Paldean Tauros, which is a fighting water type. It's going to be weak against electric, fairy, flying, grass, and psychic types. Now, all 3 forms of Paldean Tauros are all going to have the same stats and somewhat the same moves. So when it comes to the CP for the Hundo in a raid, the 100% IV is going to be 1621 CP. If it's weather boosted, it's going to be 2026 for the CP. All Paldean Tauros are going to have the exact same fast attacks, which will be Tackle, Zen Headbutt, and Double Kick. The charge attacks are somewhat the same, but one of them is going to be different depending on the type of Paldean Tauros. So all 3 are going to learn Trailblaze, Earthquake, and Iron Head. However, if you're up against the Combat breed, it will learn Close Combat. If you're up against the Blaze breed, it will learn Flame Charge. And if you're up against the Aqua breed, it will have Aqua Jet. And finally, the most important part of taking down a raid boss are raid counters. Like we listed before, flying types and psychic types are generally the best types of Pokemon up against Paldean Tauros. You would argue that fairy type is also, but just remember the Blaze breed form loses that fairy type weakness because it gains the fire typing. So flying and psychic are your best bets. First of all, there are some really strong mega evolutions that are flying and psychic, let alone legendaries. And 2, those types share the same weather boost, which is windy. So if it's windy, it's a great way to take advantage of those Pokemon because they have their moves boosted, so then it's super easy to take down any bull. With that being said, Mega Rayquaza is going to be the #1 raid boss counter for all 3 kinds of Paldean Tauros with Air Slash and Dragon Ascent. You can even use Shadow Mewtwo, let alone even Mewtwo without the Shadow form, if it has Confusion and Psy Strike. A regular Rayquaza will not hurt. You also have Mega Alakazam, you have Shadow Lugia. If you're up against the Aqua breed, you could definitely use Mega Sceptile or use Shadow Raikou. If you're up against the Blaze form, you can use any ground type attacker, or you can have Primal Groudon or Primal Kyogre, which means it's the #1 water type attacker. So you do have a lot of variety, but overall, if you're gonna be doing in-person battles and doing raids at the same time, it's best to have Mega Rayquaza as your go-to Mega because this thing is a beast. I think you could just like solo with Mega Rayquaza alone, but I would definitely have some backups for Psychic and Flying types just in case. I think you could take care of it. It shouldn't be that big of a problem. And ladies and gentlemen, this raid guide for all 3 breeds of Paldean Tauros should be pretty straightforward despite what kind of typing that a breed of Paldean Tauros has. As long as you have a Mega Rayquaza, you should be set to go. Don't do too many, especially since it cannot be shiny. Just try to at least do like 1 or 2 raids, and then you could move on to the next one, and then just do the in-person from whichever region you're from. But honestly, I don't see them being too drastically different in PvP or raid bosses, but you're just gonna do these raids just to complete your Paldean decks or your Paldean form decks or whatever. But anyway, that's all the time we have. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you guys next time. Peace out.